Fantastic. Mrs. Dally will lead us in the pledge, please. Thank you very much. Dr. Shamia, any changes to the agenda?
Yes, item, where'd it go? Thank you. Item 18B is actually going to be moved to after 19H, right before consent.
Okay, 18B to after 19H. Fantastic. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Moved and seconded. Okay. Student advisory votes. All in favor? Yes? Aye? Yes. Thumbs up? There we go. Okay. Hey, so when we do these votes, go ahead and vote on them. You don't get to vote on all of the items on the agenda, but the ones that do say student board member advisory vote, we're looking for your input there, and you can say yes or no. Okay? Fantastic. And welcome. Very good. Okay, with that approved, we're going to report out on the closed session action items. The board took the following action during the closed session. Adopted resolution number 15, approving termination of a certificated employee by roll call vote of 5-0. Trustees Malberg and Wyndham were absent from the vote, and they're both absent from the meeting this evening as well. Item 10, student discipline recommendation. It's recommended that the board approve the following discipline cases. They're listed all here: 03, 1920EX, 04, 05, 06, and 08, 1920EX. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved. Second? Second. It's a roll call vote. And hold on here. There we go. There you go.
Now
How's
it is.
that?
Okay, we're ready. Mr. Kitsis, your vote, please. Yes. Mr. Silva? Yes. Mrs. Stacy?
Yes.
Mrs. Dally?
Yes.
Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Item number 11, comments from the floor. This is where anyone has a chance to speak on a item that is not on the agenda. You have a time limit of 3 minutes. I don't see any cards. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Perfect. Seeing none, we'll move over to item 12, student and staff recognition. 12A is going to be Cooper Elementary student recognition. Teachers Rosalind Atherton and Julia Kimsey will recognize Cooper's outstanding students. All yours. Welcome, welcome.
I can do this. Good evening. The administration, staff at Cooper Elementary School would like to take this opportunity to honor an outstanding student leader. Carter Grundell is an amazing student, leader, and enthusiastic member of the Cooper community. Carter excels in the classroom, earning grades that put him on the principal's honor roll in both 5th and 6th grade. He is a collaborative member of the classroom, supports other students as needed. He is a great big buddy to a 2nd grader and helps to support his learning. He always takes a leadership role and encourages other students to excel. Carter will spend time working and learning independently with coding and robotics. He can be found quite often writing a new program in RoboBlockly and sharing his learning collaboratively with his group. Carter's consistently reading and meeting his academic goals. He most recently volunteered on our math steeplechase, running challenges for the other students. He helped on our family math day, again running stations and facilitating cleanup. Carter participates in our novel knowledge competition and was a classroom representative in the school spelling bee. This week he is helping classmates present to 5th graders so that they can become more confident public speakers. He is always kind, compassionate, and will help other students in need. In his free time from Cooper, Carter is a passionate basketball player. He currently plays on a team here in Vacaville. He is also our student council president. He served on the student council board since 4th grade and has always taken an active role in making Cooper Elementary better. He has volunteered on the sock drive, helped at the Solano County Food Bank, and he took on the responsibility of videotaping and editing our expectations video as well as our Quan video for CASP testing. Carter is a can-do kid, and he will always follow through in an honest, friendly manner. His professional demeanor helps kids respect him, and they affectionately call him Mr. President. He is called this by many kids on campus as they respect his hard-working leadership. Carter has talked about wanting his legacy at Cooper School to be one of excellence. We at Cooper School find Carter Grundell to be excellent and amazing. He is our Mr. President.
Photo op, jump in.
Want to be in the picture now?
We'd love to have parents in the picture as well. But I can take the photo if you guys want to get in. Yeah, there you go.
Parents, not sisters.
Oh, nice.
Sorry.
You want to get in the photo?
Scarred for my life.
You would,
Yeah.
okay, one more. 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Yay, nice job. You gonna speak? Julia?
Imagine getting up at 5 a.m., getting to the skating rink at 6, skating until 8, then heading off to school to meet the demands of classes. This is the normal start to Kiana's day. She personifies grit, persistence, and determination. She sees challenges, whether in the ice rink or in the classroom, as opportunities to learn about herself. She is motivated and has a mindset that does not shy away from difficult tasks. The 18 to 20 hours of training she puts in each week before and after school does not diminish her energy or enthusiasm for schoolwork or projects. She has a work ethic that is admirable and inspiring to other classmates. When she arrives at school, she comes in and doesn't miss a beat. There is never any wasted time wondering what to do. She simply digs in and takes the day by the horns. She isn't all work and no play, though. She has a wonderful sense of humor and a gift for art and creativity. She is our resident origami expert and has led the class learning this art form. Kiana has an ease at helping others in our classroom. She has an open heart and respects the differences that make people unique. Her laughter and smile reveals her complex and genuine personality. She is an honor student, musician, a gifted athlete, and captain of Cooper's 16-member recycling team. She takes on these duties with an honest enthusiasm and commitment to making Cooper School a better place for everyone. Her desire to improve the environment does not stop at the boundaries of Cooper's campus, however. She also looks for ways to help the planet. She has researched and brought a project idea for our class that involves helping the Sea Turtle Conservancy Research, Education, and Advocacy Program and leads the drive to cut plastic at Cooper's School. It is an honor to recognize Kiana tonight, and I am certain that whatever she chooses to do with her life, she will make a positive impact.
Uh-oh, camera score.
Can you switch? Move a little closer that way. Okay, ready? 1, 2.
Get the height. Let's go like that.
Hold on. Awesome.
Okay, we gotta take one more.
Perfect.
Congratulations to both the outstanding students from Cooper. And now 12B, Vacaville High School Student and Staff Recognition. I'd like to have Principal Ron Thomas, who's going to recognize the outstanding staff member. Nice to see you. How are you?
Doing well on yourself, sir.
Very good, thank you.
So good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Jane Shamia. As you mentioned, my name is Ron Thomas, principal of Vacaville High School, and it is an honor to recognize our outstanding staff member as well as our student. I'll be introducing our staff member, Amy Resnick. Come on up here and join me. So Amy Resnick, you are appreciated. Those words have been uttered many times and in many different settings and in many different tones. But my hope, Amy Resnick, is that you truly understand that they're not just words. They are facts, all caps. You are what educators should be, whether it was in your role as a social science teacher or your most recent roles as PAWS tutoring coordinator or RTI coordinator. You have and continue to do what great educators do. You create, you explain, you demonstrate, you build relationships, and you inspire. Creating engaging student-centered lessons that taught students about the human mind and how it affects people's behavior. Explaining your vision for how tutors during PAWS could effectively support students in need. Demonstrating a growth mindset and the hard work and determination needed to successfully implement a flexible intervention program that your crazy principal pitched to you one afternoon. Building relationships with both students and staff as you work hard to make your vision a reality. And inspiring all of us with all that you have overcome. Amy Resnick, you once told me that in your lifetime you have had 21 surgeries. However, I have never seen any of those challenging circumstances affect your spirit, affect your drive, or your desire to have a transformative impact in the lives of students. One of her colleagues, Kim Lane, had this to say: Amy creates an environment that encourages others to do more because she wants more. Her primary focus is always on what is best for the student, and I will be forever thankful that I've had the opportunity to work with her and help her grow our CCTC, which is our College and Career Tutoring Center. Amy Resnick, thank you for all you do for our students. You are appreciated. Those words are facts, all caps. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Amy Resnick.
Family here with you as well? Yeah, I do. My little crew. Come on up. Don't be shy. I can, do you want me to, I'll take it for you. Okay?
No, Mason.
Ron.
You thought.
Oh, great. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ron, I can't see you.
Taller, taller.
Hold on, one more. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Look at that, Amy, get awarded, and now they put you right back to work.
I know, right? Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment.
So thank you, and I just want to say that I wouldn't be able to do the things I do if it wasn't for my amazing administration and also for amazing students that are tutors. We have over 150 students that peer tutor for us. And then also for just all the support I get from the staff at Vaca High. It's a team effort. There's no way I could do it on my own, so I'm just blessed to have an amazing team. And now I have the honor to actually present our student that we are recognizing for Vacaville High School. It's not often you come across a student who is so intrinsically motivated to learn that they inspire the teacher to be a better educator. Gage Crail is one of these rare students. Gage has a thirst for knowledge and will read anything from Plato to a book about geometry, both books he has read, like I think in the last week. He is an old soul. I often tell him he should have been a student in the 50s because he's got a love for typewriters, film cameras, and record players. Gage has a lasting impression on his teachers at Vaca High. His former teachers have shared some wonderful experiences they have had with Gage. In 10th grade English, Miss Thompson shares that Gage Crail is definitely worthy of our recognition tonight on many levels. This young man consistently created an elevated learning atmosphere in our class. And on a lighter note, Gage truly had the best costume at VHS this Halloween, a most convincing Bob Ross. This stellar student is destined to accomplish many great things in the future, and it has been a true privilege serving as his teacher. Mrs. Hall-White shared how focused Gage is as a student, and in her words, Gage is always respectful, and while he is dedicated to his beliefs, he also will listen to what others have to say. Gage is one of the most hardworking students who isn't afraid to take hard classes. I have no doubt that Gage will do great things in his future. He is simply amazing. In 11th grade, he left a lasting impression on his U.S. history teacher, Mr. Williams. Gage is a fine young man. He's very polite, and it is clear that his politeness is natural and that he is genuine. He is great to have in class because of his sense of humor. His wittiness was often missed by others, and that didn't bother him in the least. He laughed at the jokes that were funny and would politely laugh at the ones that were not funny. He is the only student that I have ever taught that actually typed his work on a typewriter, not a computer. A very bizarre practice to say the least, but he did his work, and Gage will go far. Gage also took AP Micro and Macroeconomics his junior year and passed both the AP exams. Mr. Omond, his economics teacher, wanted to share that Gage is one of the most curious students I've ever taught. He'd ask questions in AP Economics that would cause me to pause and critically think about what he was asking, because Gage is always critically thinking about things. He has a genuine fascination about how things work and how it applies to the world around him. That's what made teaching him so fun. I could go on all night about how wonderful of a student Gage is, but like a good book, this is only one chapter of what is going to be an amazing story. So thank you, Gage Crail, for being such an inspirational student at Vaca High and inspiring so many of your teachers.
Ron, you want to come up? Sam? No. Oh, yep, I got it. Okay. Yep.
Sorry, you're gonna have to
Nope,
go
it's
on.
okay. Hang on first.
Yeah, is it a Smith Corona type?
Sound like you like each other. It's okay. Get in there, Sam. Nope. Get in there, Ron.
Boy, they just really look like both mom and
1,
dad.
2, 3. Hold on. 1, 2. Okay, one more. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're good. I don't know whose phone she's on. Oh.
Nice job. And again, congratulations to you, Amy, and Gage as well. 13A school reports, Cooper Elementary School report. Principal Tina On will provide the report. Tina? Right? Yes? No? Maybe so? Okay. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Tina An, principal of Cooper Elementary. Cooper School is a big school of 803 students with a small school culture. And that is because when our Cooper teachers come to Cooper to teach, they stay for a very long time. They end up retiring from Cooper School and with the district when they come to that point. Because they stay at Cooper for a very long time, they end up becoming colleagues with their former students who come back to Cooper to teach. And they also have former children of former students as their students in the classroom as well. This year, we have added kinder and first, second, third grade TAP classrooms. We have 5 classrooms with job share teachers. These classrooms have 2 teachers who come on different days to teach, or they teach different subjects within that given week. This is the most recent data on the California dashboard. It shows that we are making growth in English language arts. We are making growth in mathematics. Our goal for our English language learners is to reclassify them by the time they're ready to go to middle school. We use English language development program. We also use our response to intervention to provide one-to-one support or small group instruction so that we can accelerate our EL students' access and acquisition of reading skills. Cooper School understands that the first step of intervention is supporting and promoting student attendance. The dashboard shows that we have decreased our percentage of chronically absent students. Every year, we are challenged to meet the needs of our students who need maybe more support and more incentive with our attendance, with their attendance. So every year, we have to come up with new ways to add to our attendance incentive. We have what's called the monthly trophy. It's a traveling trophy. Each month, the classroom with the best attendance at the grade level is awarded with a trophy, and they have the bragging rights. We also have Fun Friday PE for 6 of the top classes with the best attendance. They get extra 30 minutes of PE on Friday, and our teachers also have an opportunity to earn extra prep time through this process. We are in our 2nd year of our AVID program. We have all of our 6th grade teachers trained in AVID, 3 5th grade teachers, 1 4th grade teacher, 1 3rd grade teacher, 2 2nd grade teacher, 1 1st grade teacher, and 1 kindergarten teacher. The AVID program fits well with our motto, which is Cooper Comets are college and career bound. And to promote our students' college and career mindedness, we send our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders on a field trip to a various college campus. We send our 6th graders to UC Berkeley, 5th graders to Sac State, and 4th graders to Solana College. They found it very interesting that in college that you could actually take photography, pottery, and robotics class, and not just math, English, science, writing, and so forth. We are becoming a multicultural community. Besides English, we have many languages represented at Cooper and spoken at Cooper. Because we have great representation at our annual talent show, some of our students use that opportunity to share with us an aspect of their culture. This evening, I brought a special guest, Olivia Miyashiro. She's a 5th grader at our school. She'll be performing the Japanese taiko drums. It is the performance that she did for us at this year's talent show. Olivia? Maybe I should just stop my presentation at this time, right? I should save it for the end. Continuing on, the vision for Cooper School is to become a STEM-based school where our students and our teachers share the excitement for science, technology, engineering, and math. To create an excitement for STEM this year, we challenged our 4th and 5th and 6th graders with the egg drop contest. We had over 120 participants. We are so grateful that the fire department, Vacaville Fire Department, gave us their time and made this memorable event for us. And I have to say, it is much more exciting to drop the egg from the top of the ladder from the fire truck than from an 18 feet ladder. And I have to say, even for me, I don't know what was more exciting, the egg drop contest or seeing this beautiful fire truck that I have never seen in person in my life. This year, we did an in-house math steeplechase. Each of the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade classrooms chose a team of 4 students where they got the chance to participate in problem solving through 7 problem-solving math stations. The criteria of these teams were not based upon if they excelled in math. We looked for students that could communicate, collaborate, and problem solve together. Our students learned the power of working together, communicating with one another, and problem solving together, and having fun along the way. The week of our math steeplechase culminated in a family math day. We used to have family math nights, but the participation wasn't as much. And we wanted to make sure that we gave all of our students an experience with hands-on math. So our students got the chance to do number sense and geometry math stations. It was a great opportunity for our whole school to come together around math of all things. Cooper School understands that when students' buckets are not full, that it is a barrier to their learning. As part of our first Good Teaching, we have implemented a social emotional learning curriculum, Caring School Community. This program promotes building community within the classroom through daily classroom meetings. Our students love going to our game room where they can play in a structured environment. They get to play foosball, air hockey, sports Wii, board games, and do art with one another, or just hang out. In order for us to create a community and to a bigger community, our primary grade students' classrooms, they are paired up with an upper grade classroom. And we have a buddies program. So designated days throughout the week, teachers with their primary grade colleagues, they do some buddy activities. It could be STEM activities, it could be drawing, it could be coloring, or it could be even math. And it's a way for our students to build relationships with one another. Our students love going shopping at our Cooper Student Store, where they use their Super Cooper coupons to buy items from the store. We have learned that they are spenders and that there are savers. They also use their Super Cooper coupons to redeem popcorn on Wednesdays as well. Both of our younger students and our older students love our Cooper Garden. We participate in community service projects either as a school as a whole, grade level, or through student council. Each year, our second graders do tours around the house or other activities to raise funds for Dollars for Dogs. So if you hear that we have all these police cars on our site, it's most likely because we have Dollars for Dogs happening at our site. At Cooper School, our goal is to create an understanding among our students that they are part of a bigger community. And our hope is to give them the mindset and the skills to contribute positively to the world around them. Does the board have any questions for me?
Anybody? Hold on. There you go.
How you doing? Thank you for coming out. That was a pretty good presentation. You got bear with me. I'm kind of cruddy. A couple questions. So I like the progress on the EL achievement for the English learners. Is there anything unique that you guys are doing to help address that?
We progress monitor our EL students very closely, and we know that besides the English language development support that we give them, that engaging them in the rigorous curriculum within the classroom is what helps them achieve. And since our goal is for our students, our EL students, to be reclassified by the time they're ready to leave Cooper and go to middle school, we have been quite successful with that. I think our teachers are just great resources to help our students grow. It's amazing the rate of growth that our students go through academically. And really, I give it up to our classroom teachers, our gen ed classroom teachers who support our students' learning. Sometimes they get creative, and we have given each of those teachers who have newcomers in the classrooms with an iPad with the Google Translate app. So in order for them to even support the students, they may take a picture, then it translates to English as a way to communicate with the student and the teacher. Teachers use the whole Google Translate to communicate with the families.
Well, thank you. Is the STEM? I love seeing all the activities that is highlighted in some of the photos. Is the STEM something that's integrated to every single classroom, or is that something extra that the students can choose to participate in?
So this year we did this activity with 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. It is our beginning steps. It is our vision, and right now we are trying to build capacity to be a STEM school. So Ms. Atherton, who presented tonight, she is getting certifications left and right, training left and right to help build the STEM vision of our school. And it becomes, we're using the method of making STEM contagious and exciting so that other teachers will see the excitement of it. And we think by doing these school-wide STEM activities is a way to get both students and teachers excited to do more. And our next goal is to create a maker space so that we kind of build out these hands-on STEM activities for teachers to do in the maker space, and so that it becomes readily available for them, so that we, as maybe a STEM committee, can put together those STEM kits together. And right now, Ms. Atherton, myself, and excuse me, Roxanne Burns are kind of working through that idea of makerspace and building us STEM kits.
That's good. Is there like a certain focus for the STEM, or is just exploring different topics, different physical properties? And
so when we talk about STEM, we want to give students hands-on experience with science, hands-on experience with technology, hands-on experience with engineering. So really, in a broader sense, it's the hands-on discovery of science and technology, engineering, math that we want to give our students an opportunity to do so. So the Math Family Day, the Math Steeplechase was for that purpose, for our students to get hands-on experience, because math and science and engineering and science could be quite fun.
It is fun. That's great. No, thank you. I really appreciate that. I appreciate your staff's efforts and trying to continue to try to take things forward. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Mrs. Dally?
I forget what I press. What do I press?
You're good. You're live. Don't touch any.
Oh, I'm live. Good. This system I still haven't gotten used to. I just wanted to do a couple shout outs because I've had the honor of going to your school now a few times in classrooms, and my grandson goes there. And sitting over there is Pam Wilcox, and she has what an amazing teacher. And I just have to shout out because my grandson went to school and he didn't really have his letters and sounds when he got there. And within 6 weeks, she had him in intervention, and now the kid's reading. I mean, he was level 18 before Christmas in first grade. It's amazing what a dedicated, amazing staff you have there. Same thing with Julia. She has done integrated curriculum for years, and you walk in her classroom and it's just a treasure trove of art and well-run classroom and students who are motivated and treat each other beautifully. Your campus is amazing, and I don't know if anybody knows this, but we have one teacher there on your job shares who comes all the way from Tahoe once a week to work at your school because she loves Cooper and she loves the students, and that's an amazing thing to have happen, that somebody would make that kind of a drive to be in a place just to have her post-retirement. She doesn't need the money. She does it because she loves the students and loves your schools. So again, it's a wonderful place, and I just wanted to make sure that was public.
Thank you. I just get to be the privileged, honored principal, so I'm quite lucky.
Yeah, you have an amazing staff.
Miss Stacy.
I just want to congratulate the two students again and say thank you to the young lady for her awesome performance. I think it was so cool. So thank you. And it's so cool to see so many of your staff here. And I just wanted to celebrate that. What a great presentation. You're setting the bar high. It's really cool to see that, like, you're going to pretty much peg the meter and it's going to be okay because you're going to find something new to do even better. So the culture is contagious, and you could see, like, the joy in everyone's faces. Like, how it's very cool. So keep doing what you're doing, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you.
I'm not done. I always get the last word.
Okay.
Let everybody else speak, and then I get to go from there. Now I get to go from there. So first off, thank you for your presentation. Thank you for that drum presentation. That was absolutely
amazing.
Fantastic. That was a great job. Continue to do great things at Cooper School with your staff. You've turned out some decent kids out of there. Well, at least mine, all are Cooper kids, and you do keep your staff for a very long time. So that shows that teacher community is there, that bond is there, and there's no really reason to go anywhere else. So appreciate you and your entire team for what you guys do for our students. It's really good. Your dashboard looks fantastic. Keep working on that. You're doing a great job. And one thing, I know you're the principal, so you're in charge of the teachers, right?
I'm on.
Say yes. Say yes. Is there any chance we can get Mrs. Atherton to say Super Cooper coupon 3 times really fast? Because I know I can't say it.
She was afraid you were going to tease her tonight, so you got it right.
Super Cooper coupon, Super Cooper coupon, Super Cooper
That's
coupon.
impressive.
Very good. Very nice.
And I spent the day coding all day. And my
All
brain-
day long. Very good. Thank you again very
Thank you
much
very
for
much.
everything.
So I get the last word.
Oh, showed
I
up
just
again.
I want the teachers here to raise their hand. Come on, that's an incredible. I think thank you, and thank you for being here.
Yeah.
So proud of you. Thank you. You're awesome. Good job. Give the teachers a hand.
Okay, with that, we're going to take just a short 5-minute break. We get the drum removed and everybody situated, and we'll get right going again in just 5 minutes. Thank you. (14A) is the superintendent's comments and correspondence. Oh, hold on.
Oops, I hit the wrong button. Okay.
You're good. Sorry about that.
User error. Happy New Year, board members. Thank you for being here. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to our first meeting of 2020. And I would like to start out with some very exciting administrative positions. Congratulations. Starting with Kate Abelrenzen. Kate, come up here and I'm going to talk a little bit about you. Did I pronounce your last name pretty good?
Well.
Okay. I'm working on it all day. So Kate, or Catherine, as your name, but you're known as Kate, was hired as a mental health clinician in May of 2016 here in Vacaville School District. Prior to coming to our district, she held a variety of positions in both public and private sector, including Behavioral Health Clinician 3, Marriage, Family, and Child Counseling Trainee, and Residential Counselor. Kate holds a Master of Science degree in Marriage, Family, and Child Counseling from CSU Sacramento. I don't know if you know this, but Ed Santapadre and I have decided that you are the reason that we have mental health clinicians at all of our schools now. So you were actually part of the pilot and part of the impetus. Kate was a mental health clinician at Vaca High School, and about 3 years ago, I think it was, Mr. Santapadre, the then principal, was lamenting the fact that our mental health clinicians were paid out of special ed and only could serve special eds. And he said, I have this phenomenal mental health clinician that wants to serve all these kids and wants to help these kids in crisis. And we're limited to special ed because it's funded by special ed. So we started talking about a multi-funded position and decided to pilot it at Vaca High with you. And it was so successful, that's when we've spread it to the rest of the district, which we're so proud that we have 10 mental health clinicians in our 17 schools, and now you are going to be the leader of those. And I quote, Kate is the nicest person on earth, was the quote.
Wow.
So welcome, and well, not welcome, you've been here for a while, but congratulations.
Thank you so much. I really look, oh, were you going to say something?
I'd like to.
Can she speak first?
Of course.
Thank
I
you.
was just going to say thank you so much. I'm so excited to lead our super awesome mental health clinical team.
So I just have to take the opportunity because I have the privilege of getting to work with Kate when we do ASSIST training, the Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. And she is definitely, we are a little bit yin and yang. We sit on sometimes the opposite sides of our personalities. She has such an amazing ability to just bring this kind of peace and calm into the room and really intense conversation. People feel very, very safe to talk about uncomfortable things and willing to really just be raw and authentic, and you've made training amazing. So I think you're going to have that same leadership with your team, with the mental health team. So thank you for everything and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Kate.
Yay. And next is Corinne Ficus. Did I say that one? Ficus. I was thinking Ficus. Ficus, sorry. Corinne, right?
Yes.
Corinne was hired as an accountant in our fiscal services department in May of last year. And prior to coming to our district, she worked in the public sector in many different capacities, including controller for 35 companies under one parent company, bank branch manager, customer service coordinator, personal banker, staff accountant, and research assistant. Corinne holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in managerial economics from UC Davis. And your supervisor, Director of Fiscal, Kelly Burks, has shared a few things about you. She says that since you joined the fiscal team in May, you've been a great support to programs, departments, and sites. And in a very short time, you've formed relationships and earned the trust of coworkers. She has quickly learned to maneuver her way through the unique world of school finance, is always willing to help our sites and departments with their budget questions, and goes above and beyond to research issues. She has, I think we're going to talk all night about you because I hear you're fabulous.
Keep going.
She has
Don't stop.
She has experience with budget, accounts receivable and payable, and reconciling general ledger accounts. So I'm going to add a little personal note. She is married to Chris Ficus, a calculus teacher at Vaca High, and you have twin daughters who will be 3 years this month. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Shamia. I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and I have, worked a long way, and school's always been a comfort zone for me, so I'm really happy to be here, and I am a proud wife. Yes, so thank you so much for this opportunity.
Glad you did. Thank you.
I'm done.
Okay, for my update this evening, I'm going to talk about all the new state laws in 2020. I know, so try to stay awake and keep up. I will very quickly summarize not all the new state laws affecting education, but the main ones, and I'm sure you heard of a lot of them. As you can see, our California Education Code is now 2 volumes. When we have new laws enacted, that often means some work on our part. So I'm going to share a little bit with you what we're doing or have started doing as a district and which department is responsible. A lot of the laws are effective July 1, but there's many that are effective in later years or effective January 1. So one of the things I have been asked is, how do you know? How do you know about the new laws? How do you find out? Especially 2020, there's been a lot of them. So these are just the various ways and communications that we get information. Of course, we get direct communications from the Department of Ed. We have two major law firms education law firms that we work with regularly that always send us newsletters and updates. And of course, professional organizations that all of the leaders in the district belong to get updates. And I'm going to impress you because I know every one of these acronyms. The Association of California School Administrators, California Association of School Business Officials, California Coalition for Adequate School Housing, and of course, the California School Boards Association. So those are just a few, but all of our leadership group attend trainings there, and also receive frequent emails and updates. And of course, there's the School Services California. And locally, we all belong to various countywide groups. Human Resources has their law consortium. We have our local special ed, local plan area, the SELPA, that updates us. And of course, we get daily almost education news feeds from FICMEX. So we are well informed on a very consistent basis with all this information about new laws. And then the next step is for myself and cabinet members to decide whose role it is to ensure that people are aware of these laws and that we're following them. So starting with new laws that affect students, I'm sure you've heard in the news there was a lot of talk about changing start times for secondary schools, and they did pass the law that high schools cannot start earlier than 8:30 and middle not earlier than 8 a.m. And this is based on research that shows that teenagers' circadian rhythms are different than ours. They like to stay up late and sleep in. So the thinking is that they will be more alert at school and will be more successful academically. So now it's written into law, and districts have till 2022 to do this. We're also now required by law to provide homework assignments to students who are suspended 2 days or more, which is pretty typical. I think when students are suspended in districts, they get homework. So I'm not really sure the rationale for why it was felt the need to put into law, but it's now a law. And students are no longer allowed to be what we call meal shamed if they have unpaid fees. They must get the same meal as everybody else for students that pay for lunch or breakfast. There was a time that I remember where you'd keep a jar of peanut butter and a loaf of bread in the back, and if a student didn't pay their fees, you give them a peanut butter sandwich. We can't do that now. We have to provide them with a school meal and not treat them differently. So I'm proud to say that Vacaville Unified School District has done every one of these already. Our director of child nutrition says no student will ever go hungry, and we changed our start times, and we consistently give homework when students are suspended. Other laws affecting students, years ago, the Ed Code allowed us to suspend a student for willful defiance in any grade, K through 12. I think a year or two ago, the law was changed. We were prohibited from suspending students in grades K through 3 for willful defiance, and now that's been extended in grades 4 through 8. The 6th through 8th grade prohibition is only for 5 years, and the reason for that is legislators in the states want to kind of, pilot it, see how it works, evaluate it, and see the effect on students. But for 4th and 5th, we cannot suspend them for willful defiance. The thinking that is when they're younger, they're still developing, and we're still teaching them as opposed to punishing them for behavior. There's also a law that authorizes school districts to limit or prohibit students using their cell phone. We're not mandated to do this, but the law has kind of opened it up that, yes, you can write a policy that prevents students from bringing smartphones to school. It's something that is sparking some discussions as far as should we do that, should we not. I'm sure the School Boards Association is going to come out with a sample policy. And the law also defines certain restrictions on if a student has an IEP or a doctor's note that says they have to have their device, then we can't prevent that. But we do have a current board policy under conduct that prohibits students from using their mobile device during instruction. So starting January 1, actually, we have to have, I believe it's January 1 or July 1, I don't remember, but we're working on the first one, which is display student sexual harassment policy posters at our high schools. Our Director of Communications has already started working on those posters. And we also have to provide information on bullying, discrimination, harassment, and suicide information in a prominent location on the website. This information is on our website, but we have to work and talk about how to make it more prominent. And Elaine Kong, Director of Communication, has already started working on this. By October, the ID cards that we give to our secondary students have to have the phone number of the National Domestic Violence Hotline. This is something our Director of Student Attendance and Welfare will ensure happens at the start of the next school year. Last year, we had to add the suicide prevention number, which is already on all of our ID cards. And speaking of suicide, we currently have a policy for suicide prevention for 7th through 12th grade. The law now requires that as at the beginning of the next school year, in July, August, we have to have a policy that extends this to grades K through 6, which includes prevention and working with students and awareness. This policy has to be, we have to consult with county mental health and other experts in development of this. And our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Options and Supports, Sasha Vacaville, has started working with her team and the mental health team on getting all this together in time. The California Department of Ed next year has to develop and update resources for supports for LGBTQ students. And districts will be encouraged to provide training and utilize these resources. So that's going to be a year from July before this will be available, but it's something we'll keep our eye out for and look at trainings for teachers. Restraints. This new law around restraints is not really, I think, something that we have to be concerned about because we don't restrain or put students in seclusion. It's really directed toward more severe students that are probably in more restrictive placements. This is a law that I think has come about because of probably things you've heard about in the news where students at particularly I think some non-public school special ed placements have been restrained and some of them have suffered injury and in some cases I think death. So this law is very specific about the circumstances where you can restrain a student, and it really is only to avoid serious bodily injury and only to the extent to avoid that. But we are required to collect and report data to the California Department of Ed every year on the use of restraints. And again, that's a responsibility that our Educational Options and Supports ensures that we'll follow through on. And speaking of non-public schools, there is a new law that a district that places a student at a non-public school, and we're talking about special education. These are students who we're unable to serve because of the severity of their disabilities. When we place the student there, we have a responsibility to do a walkthrough and to review services and ensure that the students are meeting their goals. It's just more enforced oversight. And we actually have to report to the Department of Ed every time we monitor. Our Solano SELPA already does this. They actually do a really outstanding job monitoring the non-public schools. And one of the things we're talking about is if having them do this kind of oversight, if we still have to do it. But I'll be working with the SELPA and working with Sasha to determine what our responsibility is on this area. Now we'll talk a little bit about new laws affecting employees. The probationary period for classified employees is now 6 months. So that means, I think you're all familiar with what probationary means. After 6 months, they become permanent. Previously, the law said no longer than 12 months, so it was kind of left open and it was agreed upon in collective bargaining agreements. But now the law is basically 6 months. Our probationary period for classified is 1 year, correct? Somebody nod their head. It's 1 year, I think. Yeah. So with the new law, we'll have to change to six months. And also, when an employee complains about discrimination, of course, the first place they go is human resources. If they don't get the outcome they desire, then they bring their charge. They can file a discrimination complaint with the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Previously, they had 1 year to file this complaint within, the time the event happened. Now, they actually have 3 years. So there's a huge extension on the time period where employees can complain. And also, speaking of discrimination area of employees, there's already a law that requires having a lactation room for employees, but the law has just been expanded with more detail of what has to be in that room, and also specifies that there has to be a refrigerator and a sink nearby, so an employee who's lactating can have access to that. And the definition of race under the area of protected classes or discrimination has been specified, expanded a little to include hairstyles. So they're called protective hairstyles. And we have actually addressed both of these. We have sent our lactation policy out to all of our administrators, and we've updated our board policy a couple months ago on employee dress and grooming. And in that policy, it prohibits any discrimination around hairstyles. Claim timelines. AB 218 changed the statute of limitations on when an individual can basically bring a legal action against a district for sexual misconduct or molestation. Originally, it was 26 years old. Now it's expanded to 40. So it's a huge change. So, and we all know the harmful effects, so sometimes those come up later in adulthood. So now individuals have to 40 years old to bring a lawsuit against a district. Charter schools. I'm going to very briefly go over some of the new laws in charter schools. In a couple months, Sasha Begel, our assistant superintendent, will be giving a more in-depth update around charter school law and related to some of our own charter schools. This is the first time that there's been such a huge change in charter school law. The Charter Schools Act was enacted in 1992, and over the years there's been little changes, but this has been really broad. Lot of changes, starting with petition hearing timeline. So it used to be when a district has a petition for a charter school, they have 30 days to hold the public hearing and 60 days to have a decision. That's now been extended to 60 days for the hearing and 90 for the board decision. This is good news, I think, as a district. It's a lot of work when you get a charter petition. You have to pull together a committee. You have to write the findings. It's a lot of work. So districts really do want more of a timeline to really do the work and review the petition thoroughly. They also require now in the new law that the recommendations and the findings from the staff are provided 15 days before the board decision, and that the petitioners have an opportunity to speak, an equal opportunity to speak. And I am proud to say that we do that whenever we have charter petitions. We usually have the findings available to the petitioners, and we always allow them equal time to present. There's more considerations now for charter approval. You can consider whether the charter school is going to serve the entire community, the interests of the community, whether or not it would undermine district programs, or whether it would duplicate current district programs or offerings or services. And you can actually take into account the impact on the fiscal condition of the school district. This is not for renewals, this is for new charter petitions. So we're going to see a huge change with that. The other thing that's been added is, as you all know, when we receive charter petitions, the charter petitioner has to describe the means by which they'll achieve a balance of racial and ethnic pupils that matches the districts. They've added to that special education and English learner. So if we get new charter petitions, we're going to have to see the method of how they will match special ed and English learner to the district. So very different. And the way it was previously in the law was when you're renewing a charter petition, it has to show that their academic achievement has been the same or better than the district schools, and we use the academic performance index. Now, there's obviously a new accountability system with the state, so they mention in the law, looking at the California dashboard, and all the comparisons are with the state average, not local, and they've tiered it. So the previous law said that when you renew a charter, it has to be 5 years. No choice, no discretion, 5 years. Now it says if they're considered high performing, then you can decide, the district can decide, the board can decide 5 year, 6 year, or 7 year. If they're average, if they're average performing, which is, you know, basically with the state average, it's a 5 year. And then low performing, the law says they should not be renewed. However, if they can show that they're getting better or that they have great post-secondary outcomes, you can have a second look at the charter petition. And again, this is a lot of new stuff. If we ever in the future get a new charter petition or when we get our renewals, it will be something that Sasha will work with us and go through again. And lastly, charter school location. So the old law used to say that if you have a charter in another county, let's say, for example, somebody gets a charter for non-classroom, like independent study, in Sacramento County, they were actually allowed by law to open a resource center in an adjacent county. And we actually have that right now in Vacaville. There is a resource center, and they operated based on this law. That law has changed. Now it says you can no longer do that, but if you currently have one that's lawfully operating, when they come up for renewal, they have to come back to the district and ask for permission. So we will be keeping an eye out on the resource center we have in Vacaville and see where they stand in light of the new law. And this is actually the last one around charter school. The law specifically says that charter schools can no longer discourage a student from enrolling or counseling them out of the school. Some charters have had a reputation of maybe discouraging students from being in their school. Some of the analysis of the law talked about English learners, special ed, but they're now specifically prohibited from doing any of that. And they're not allowed to request a student records before they enroll when they're looking to enroll. And there used to be, the State Board of Ed actually has charter schools under it, because if you appeal your charter, you can appeal to the State Board, and if they approve it, the State Board is going to run and oversee, not run the charter, but oversee it. State Board is no longer going to do that. So if we got a charter petition, denied it, and they went to the State Board, if the State Board approved it, they could come back and say, we approve it, but the district's going to do the oversight. So the State Board is essentially out of the business now of overseeing charter schools. Woo! And that's it. Any questions about any of the new laws or how we're doing?
Michael.
Yeah, thanks. For the, do you know for the probation, is there any opportunity to extend more than 6 months, or is that a hard and fast rule at this point?
I believe it's a hard and fast rule. Am I correct? Yes.
Because, you know, the interesting thing about that is, I know when he's coming up.
Yeah.
Hello, Chris. No, I said the interesting thing about that is, you know, in the county, we can extend up to 12 months if necessary. And I think one of the problems with that law can be if you're on the edge, you know, you often say, okay, you're gone. You know, but you don't pass probation. You don't have that opportunity to say, okay, I'll give you 6 more months to see.
Correct. That is an unintended consequence. The one thing about this law is it only goes into effect. It goes into effect once you bargain a new agreement. So we will continue to have our 1 year until this agreement expires.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Chris, for that.
Michael, could you turn off your mic, please?
I will.
Thank you. Okay, Tracy.
Thank you. So, 2 questions. So, at a meeting I was at earlier this week, it was suggested that the suicide prevention for K-8, that we have to have plans for every school too. Is that true?
For individual schools,
That's what I was told. I want to look into that because it's.
from what I've read, what I read was a policy and consultation.
That would be better because it's going to be an interesting.
Yeah, plans for each
event anyway.
school. Do you know, Sasha?
I'll check.
We'll double
And
check.
is there any funding at all for the new, like, you have a laundry list of things to do, but no funding to go with it, right?
No, and thank you for pointing that out. It it is, and it's all current staff that have to, you know, luckily a lot of these we already do, but it's work for current staff to make sure we're complying with all of them. Thank you.
So some of the laws, I don't know where they came from. I have no idea, right? Laughed at a couple of them, but some of them impact us directly. Some of them will impact us later with maybe the charters and things like that. But I too wanted to echo that the impact to our staff in this building primarily to implement those laws, make sure we're abiding by them, and with no funding to compensate for the additional impact to us is pretty sad, to say the least. I appreciate what you guys do and making these things happen. It's nice to see that we already have some in place, that we're ahead of the game on a few, but it looks like you have a fair amount of work ahead of you in many departments to implement these new laws as well. So I appreciate what you do, and I think everybody needs to remember that's what this building does, is a huge, giant support for everybody that's out there educating our kids, is making sure that we are abiding by the laws and keeping up with the changes that occur on an annual basis. So,
Yeah, thank you.
okay.
And that concludes my report.
All done. Great. Thank you very much. Board member Michael, hold on one sec. Go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing that too, John. Is there associated cost with is there an estimated associated cost with trying to implement these mandates, or was there any additional funding allocated from the state?
No. And the cost is really employee time.
Right.
And some of us, I'm looking at them, work nights, late, weekends, you know. It is more time in addition to all the other stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's like one of the frustrations that even came out of the delegate assembly meeting from the CSBA last meeting with December. I think they're like in total, according to CSBA, I'm still trying to get a better, clear distinction of which ones are which. But there's 16 new mandates that California implemented, and again, that just makes it more difficult and more strain on our districts because we're still statewide funded. Statewide, public education is still funded 40th in the nation. I think John laid out a lot of great points.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, item 15, board member comments and correspondence. Any? Michael?
Yeah. So it's been a year since I've been up here. Learned a lot. Been able to manage, I think, a lot of things together. And one of the reasons why I got into this was people trying to urge me to go out here, and usually I take that as a warning, like why don't you do it, man? So, but I think that it's been an excellent experience. I've learned a lot of insight into policy, and there's so much more to learn. And I think one of the things that I feel that why so many people in the community supported me was that they wanted me to bring a different perspective or an added perspective with respect to experience and insight and whatnot. Excuse me. And so I think where I'm kind of at with our public education, and it's and I think it's things that we can implement here, and I think it's things that Cooper showed earlier that can be implemented. Is I think our public education should really take this approach to try to fit things in to three tiers, three pillars, so to speak. And so what I find by talking from different community partners, the business community, different educators, from top to down, parents, I think that what if everything fits into like these three pillars, I think we can really start being able to start breaking merging some inequities, and really being able to prepare our students to transition to a much more longer successful career. One of the talks that I was able to attend at the California School Board Association at Omini had Michio Kaku speaking. And so what he came up there and basically echoed was that the future jobs won't be in the quote unquote middleman jobs. What they'll be in is more of the semi-skilled jobs. So that's our plumbing, our construction, things that robots cannot do, and other things that robots cannot do, which is more along my field. I was happy to hear that, which is biotechnology, which feeds into medicine, practicing medicine, and engineering. And so really the whole point of his talk and his angle, and it's not just him, it's a collective community, and why so many people push STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, is how do we actually create and foster this environment, this culture, to where it goes back to these 3 points that I'll mention, that ties into innovation. So I think through innovation, by having a focus or trying to tie in our efforts into innovation or fostering that innovative mindset, through how do we use our language, how do we use our mathematical skills to create stuff and build off of the creation that we each create. I think through that method and by different practices that I've personally explored and I know are being explored in different ways throughout different schools and different classrooms is methods that I think it allows for kids from all different type of backgrounds, from all their diverse backgrounds, to bring something to the table and contribute something positive to some type of group project, some type of problem. And so I think innovation is one of those pillars, so to speak. The other one is entrepreneurship. So one of the things that I've learned from the community, the business community specifically, is they want their students to have soft skills, and and it's been echoed from several members on the board. How do we, balance in a checkbook? So like being financially aware of how to manage money. That was also displayed earlier today by the Cooper presentation about how do they spend money. My experience, I was helping out a couple years ago at Markham, and the kids would come in with a little baggie of change that they found wherever. There'd be 5 kids coming in there. And they'd be like, oh, what can I buy with this? They had like 33 cents. And it's like, what? Just say, like, for me, I just wanted to tell them, save it. Just save it. Because, well, 1, you didn't have enough. But 2, like, they just felt like they had to buy something. And it just really hit me that certain kids from certain communities, certain backgrounds, they just don't have that knowledge or that access to those opportunities to kind of learn from their peers based on the environment that they're growing up in. And I think if somehow we can tie into our curriculum or opportunities moving forward, ways to either spawn entrepreneurship, support entrepreneurship, I think we'll start being able to bridge certain gaps that allows our students to move on and be successful in different ways. The third way is through that innovation, through that entrepreneurship, what ways can we actually learn how to give back to the community? So that's something else that I was actually really pleased to see with Cooper, that in reality they have those 3 elements. They had innovation through STEM, they had the entrepreneurship, and they also had the ability to give back to the community. And I think that ability to give back to community, we develop a deeper sense of pride and respect for ourselves, and also tying that into somehow civic duty. Something else that kind of irritates me is that we know more about national politics than we do our own local stuff, and I'll leave it at that. But all of that again can also be tied around safety. So I've been doing a lot of thinking, and but I think really again, I'm really appreciative of the past time. I love the talks that go on, in closed session and on this panel, and I love hearing from different people out in the community. And I really look forward to finding different ways and seeing how we can continue moving our district forward. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Silva. Tracy.
I can't believe it was a very fast year. In addition so he has asked us, because we have 2 Michaels, we get to call him Silva. So Trustee Silva, I just want to make sure that the community, I'm really proud of our district, because we for a long time agreed that maybe we missed the boat a little bit on CTE, and we weren't as inclusive and innovative, and because A through G and getting kids to college was a really big. It wasn't just us; it was statewide, national, and we realized very quickly when things started to go south that we need to give kids access to all different kinds of things to find out what they're going to love and what they're going to be good at. So I got to tell you, the citizenship with PBIS and when we have a senior as an older adult senior prom, where one of our high schools goes and has a formal dance. Almost all of our schools have citizenship components. I actually work with the city on the Share the Warmth campaign, and our schools are the best partners to get socks and blankets and coats. And the things that we do, even though we don't know about, I can safely say that almost all of our schools, if not all of our schools, are definitely connected. And so I think there's definitely room for improvement, but I don't want to lose sight of all the amazing things we have. Wilsey Wood has an incredible wood mechanic shop. They gave a family a car that the students actually rebuilt and took care of. We've got the wood shop and kinesiology and things and culinary at Vaca High. We've got IT and the amazing artwork and design that's happening at Buckingham. There's a lot of options and kits for our kids. So definitely room for improvement. I'm excited to see what ideas you bring, but I just want to make sure that we know that we're definitely on the same ship. We agree with you, but we're doing really cool things. So.
Okay, anybody else? Fantastic, then I'll take a couple minutes. I brought a guest with me tonight, Mr. Lene. Will you come up to the podium if you don't mind? Will Lene is a captain with the Vacaville Fire Department. He's also, I believe, a board member on the Vacaville Firefighters Charity Fund, correct?
That's pretty close.
Fantastic. Yeah, he's a
and a Vaca High grad.
Vaca High grad, yeah. The 8-8? Yeah. Okay. All right. But come through the Vacaville system as well. Where the story is going is 8-9 years ago, this district was smart enough to start a automatic external defibrillator program. The board was wise enough to make that happen. We were able to get some donations. One of the first donations that we got was from the Vacaville Firefighters Association at that time to purchase an AED. And we have probably the most robust program in the entire county for sure, if not farther than that. We have many, many units all throughout our campuses, our district offices, our maintenance shop. We have a good supply of them. They have been used before, so they're very useful tools that we have. Working with Ed Santapadre, we had a need to expand our program a little bit more. By about 8, I think, defibrillators is what we needed. And I said, well, let me make a phone call. And I called Will, and within 15 seconds, we had enough to buy 5 of those, 8 of the cases, all the supplies to go along with it, and it wasn't a blink of the eye. I'll let you explain what the Firefighters Fund do, but I brought you here just to say thank you to you for your leadership in that organization, your willingness to support the district in not only the safety of our children, but also our staff and our visitors. And thanks for the money.
Oh.
Short and to the point.
Very short. That's good. Vacaville City Firefighters Charity Fund was formed back in 2012. It spawned from the idea that we had already been collecting money and donating it out to the community, but we figured by organizing the charity fund into a more professional organization that we could do more, and we have. Last year, the Vacaville City Charity Fund, Vacaville City Firefighters Charity Fund donated $113,000 back into the community and local area. Our mission is to help victims of tragedy. So that was our spawning thing, is just, hey, we see it all the time in our profession, and so we wanted to have a mechanism for helping support those families and people in need who have been victims of tragedy of one way or another in the local area. And then we've expanded that mission to helping assist underfunded programs in the community. So this definitely fit into the mission of helping out programs that needed funding. We also help out a lot in the arts and the schools and academics. We have a scholarship now that we just started last year that gives money for Vacaville residents who are looking to become a fire professional. So we help give them money to get into school and help pay for some of their books and whatever else they have. So also just really cool thing we did this last year, we were able to raise at our crab feed $45,000 in 15 minutes. Then we donated all that money to the rebuilding of the elementary school up in Paradise. So that was also another really fun, cool opportunity we had. So we really appreciate the recognition. We don't do it for that reason, but it's nice to be here, and you're very welcome for the program. So, thank you.
Thank you. I have a little certificate for you. I'll come to you to the Vacaville City Firefighters Charity Fund for your generous AED donation to the Vacaville Unified School District. So let me bring that to you. Jane, you wanna come for a picture? Thank you again.
Oh, you're welcome. And I would be remiss to not also mention that we are not able to do any of this without the great support that you guys know we have for the community here in Vacaville. That's all the residents here that help us out with all the things we do, donate the money, and all of our firefighters who put in countless hours of time making all of this stuff, these donations happen. So we really appreciate all the support from everyone in the community. So you guys have a nice night. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I just rejected you. Did you want to talk? Tracy.
Just quickly, that's the coolest thing. Thank you. I just want to give JJ a shout, or Trustee Jansen a shout out. JJ. I don't know. A lot of people don't know this, and I'm sorry if I get foot clamped because it's still. We had a pretty serious event happen at a basketball game not long ago, and it really hit home. But I got to tell you, I've seen now on a few occasions, JJ's everywhere when anyone in this district needs him, and the defibrillator was used that night. It definitely. We don't always have great outcomes, but it changed the situation at the time, and JJ was there. He was there to support the staff, but the training that he gave our staff to use that defibrillator in the first place, I don't know that we've ever publicly thanked you. That's awesome. But it has saved lives. You have definitely made an impact. That was a rough day because it was the day before Thanksgiving, so I didn't know I was going to have an emotional response to that. But just know that I want you to publicly say thank you, and people to know that you do a lot behind the scenes for a lot of people. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Yay. All right. Student board representative reports. We're going to start with Will C. Wood and Rayanne West. Give you a microphone there. There you go. And welcome.
It's a pain sometimes.
If you drop it, it works really well. Here they come.
There it is. Hello. Hi, good evening. My name is Rianne West, and I'm talking for Will C. Wood. So we started off after winter break pretty well. We had what we called a welcome back week to ease the students in a little bit. It's a little hard coming back from a 2-week break. No one really wants to sit in classes all the time, which is, it's understandable, but it's very fun, and we want people to know that we love our students very much. So, and in the early mornings, we started offering some tea and hot cocoa because it's been very cold recently in the mornings, and our A-period students, me being one of them, know that it's very, very cold. And then as well, on Friday last week, we offered fresh waffles with syrup. And I know lots and lots of students ate them, and lots of students were very happy, and it was very cool to see all the smiles around campus. We as well put up a huge tarp, and the students could fill them with their New Year's resolutions. And we were very much so encouraging that 2020 will be the year for most of the seniors, obviously, but then as well as everyone else. Our sports took off pretty fast as well as they hit the ground running. As of right now, it could be over actually, but our boys are playing up against Rodriguez High School, I believe. Our cheerleaders are there as well as our band, which your son is a part of, so thank you for that. it's been going very good. Our soccer has been playing a lot, and they've been doing very well as well. We have winter ball tomorrow. We have a winter ball formal every year. It's kind of like a small prom for the underclassmen because they don't get to go to the big one yet. It's going to be at the Lattice Center. It's the Snowflake Soiree, which I found out means fancy evening. I did not know that. Cool vocab word. Yeah. We are doing it on this Friday, and we're very, very excited. We did a little dine and donate to help fundraise for it because all of our dances are fundraisers, so they come out of class pockets. So our juniors are doing all of Winter Ball. They're doing great work. It's going to be amazing. As of right now, our link crew is working on what they call Kindness Week, which is when they did donate a car to a family in need. And it was a very amazing experience. We definitely love our workshop back there. Chip is a great teacher. If anyone hasn't known him or at all, he's amazing. Overall, we've been doing very well, and I can't wait for this year to go by. Our musical is just started. We're performing in March. It is Mary Poppins. So if anyone knows anything about Wilsey Woods musicals, we are award-winning, and it's amazing. All the ones I've ever seen, beautiful, love them. Definitely go stop by if you can. Yeah, and that's pretty much all about Wilsey Wood right now. Thank you.
Great. Nice job, Rayanne. Thank you very much. And next from Country High School, Jeff Garcia Coley, if I pronounced it right? Sure.
This one? All right. Hello, my name is Jeff Garcia. I'm representing for Country High School. Everyone is back in full swing. Before we left break, we celebrated 12 days of attendance, just like the Christmas Carol, 12 Days of Christmas. Every day brought a new treat for students who attended their first period class. This was to promote positive attendance during the first time. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of nervous a little bit.
Yeah, you're doing great. Keep going.
It was to promote positive attendance during the time of the year when attendance usually goes down. We're continuing to bring guest speakers to campus for career planning. We have Cal Regional and Solano Community College coming to talk about careers in medical fields as well as career paths Solano offers. Field trips are being scheduled for students who are interested in cosmetology programs of Solano. Stop the Bleed certification and OSHA 10 certifications are coming to Country High School in the month of February. This is an opportunity for students to gain experience in certain career fields and the great skills that students can put up, job applications. Finally, we're celebrating the second quarter honor roll on January 30th with a family game night and some snacks. And that's it for my report. Thank you.
Very good. Jeff, nice job. Very good. All right, anybody from the bargaining units, either one that are here to speak? Some time? All right, seeing none, we're going to go to 18 staff reports, and we're going to ask Assistant Superintendent Sasha Bagel will share recommendations to the board related to addressing the need for increased positive behavioral interventions for students and related supports for staff implementation.
Or I could do the audit one if you guys think that would, no?
Yeah? Can you play a drum?
No, you got me.
Hey.
Good evening, Superintendent Shamiya, President Jensen, and members of the board. I am going to be presenting on some recommendations related to our behavior needs and in the fashion of our MTSS, or multi-tiered systems of support. I'm going to try to do that in a tiered system approach. So first, is there feedback happening? Okay, I'll step back. Okay. So first, just kind of talking about the needs discussion that started happening. So at the end of last school year, VTA approached the district and asked that we create a committee to address behavior and safety. They had some concerns relative to incidents that have been happening on campus, and we're seeing sort of an uptick in significant behavioral events happening on campus that they wanted to address. At that same time, administration in the district was also hearing from teachers and recognizing that we were having some increased intensity of behavior and some things that just teachers really hadn't seen before. And this was particularly at the elementary level, so a little bit alarming for teachers who had been teaching for many, many years and hadn't been accustomed to having students who were presenting with this level of behavior. And so while we created the committee at the beginning of the school year, administration was also talking about possible solutions and kind of solution finding and looking at how we might be able to address some of these needs that we were seeing. So the behavior committee was developed, and it consisted of members from VTA, SEIU, district administration, site level administration, and some of our service providers. And I was joking the other day that this is probably the last time anybody will ask me to run a committee, because I do what I always do, and that is put people to work. And so we really had a lot of engaging conversation and a lot of opportunity to discuss what some of the concerns were. They had time to go back, share with their sites, and bring additional information or reflection. And we really kind of talked about, both what were some of the problems we were seeing, and then possible brainstorming solutions for how could we address some of these problems. So one of the activities that we did as we worked through this process was sort of titrate it down to what did you think would be your top 2 suggestions for potential solutions. And there are a variety of groups, and ultimately these came out as their top suggestions. And there were a lot of common themes between not only what different group members were saying in the various groups of the committee, but also with some of the things that we in administration had already begun talking about. But you can see here what their top recommendations were. And again, I think you'll see this reflected in the next few slides when we talk about possible solutions, but varies from proactive training for all to very specific requests for additional experts, and then also some, in extreme situations, perhaps alternate locations for students to be able to receive very intensive supports. So, like I promised, here's my tiered response. And so this, in my mind, makes sense and works into our MTSS system. You have really that base level. What are we going to do for all teachers, for all students? And that's provide additional training. I think we can all agree that it's well, as Ed likes to say, it's not Kansas anymore, right? Is that it? Yeah. That's the one. And so, but we've talked about that. And our demographics are changing. The needs that kids are coming to school with are very different than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. And so we need to learn about that and understand what that looks like and understand then what our possible responses to that might be. The next level then is when that doesn't work, when our base isn't working, having some system of support in place where we can get to students and support them where they are and hopefully develop systems that can allow them to stay in their classroom. And then, of course, there will be some students at that very top tier that need very intensive levels of support. And that would maybe be something like this behavioral support class. So in reality, while we have sort of this tiered system, the way I'm going to present them is in a different order, and that's also for a reason. Really trying to kind of find that Goldilocks or just right approach of recognizing where our staff and students are right now and the needs that they have right now, and also understanding that we want to plan for the future and build capacity, and not do so much intervention from the experts or outside opportunities that we forget about building the capacity of those teachers and staff members that see students on a daily basis and building their skill sets. So just honoring that we have a need for both of those things, and what's that just right approach for right now so that we can honor both of those pieces. So that's step one, is sort of that middle tier and really getting going on something like this for the district. And the concept here is to have additional behavior supports added to the behavior team that already exists, to be able to come in and do triage in a sense. So we have a student who's having significant behaviors. We really can't seem to get those behaviors under control with the tools and tricks that we have already at our disposal. And sometimes that process can last a really long time before the experts come in and assist. And we want to remove some of those barriers so that those experts can get in earlier, where folks are not so overwhelmed with the crisis that they aren't able to learn some new skill sets, but then also leave those experts there for a little while, help develop a behavior plan, take some of that data that can be time consuming and difficult for teachers to do, and then transition over and teach those teachers how to run that behavior plan and ensure that it's something that can actually happen in that classroom. And so this would consist of some additional behavior management support, behavior assistance, which the job description, I believe, is also on the board agenda this evening, and of course a system for referral that would hopefully be linked to the MTSS systems of referral already in place at the school sites. The next need came from, again, some significant elementary level behaviors that we were hearing about, seeing, and being reported to us. And so this would be the possibility of looking at opening some type of a class that would be a short-term opportunity for students where we can really throw a lot of supports, behavior support, mental health support, having trained staff working with students to kind of reteach some of those behaviors so that then they can transition back to their sites. I would hope that this would be linked in some way with the referral process and the triage team, such that we wouldn't jump to this conclusion, but we really try to implement something with the triage team to have students remain in their classrooms. But this could be another component when that just isn't a safe possibility. And then our ongoing need that I believe, if we do correctly, will yield the most widespread support for our students. And that's developing a system of training and professional development, really taking stock of what are the new trends and what are the pieces of information that we're missing, and we have the duty to get to staff and help support them in this new learning. And that might include trauma-informed care, of course, our social-emotional curriculum that we'll be talking about next at our next board meeting, and some nonviolent crisis intervention, and specifically some of that de-escalation training. So how to not get into a power struggle with a student who is about to have a behavior, but perhaps you could help prevent that just by recognizing how your own adult behaviors are impacting that situation. I thought it was really interesting. Kate, oh, she left. Kate was a part of the behavior committee, and as one of our share outs, we did a lot of charting, sharing, going back to the group. And in one of our share outs, she was just mentioning some statistics that she was reading as a course of her day. She stays up on that type of information. And she was sharing some statistics about Solano County children and Vacaville in particular. And she'd kind of run the percentages and given us numbers of actual, so this percentage would represent this number of students talking about children who have experienced trauma, abuse, and just some of these things that I think we don't think about necessarily as teachers. And it was really interesting to me, and she and I debriefed afterwards, and I said, did you see there was a physical change? Like you could see in their faces that some of these staff have just never been made aware of the statistics like this. And you could feel their compassion and understanding, but it was brand new information. And so that was a really insightful moment for both Kate and I, in that we know that some of this information, just knowing that and then wanting to do something about it with our teachers, because we know we have compassionate and caring teachers, and so we feel it's our duty to share some of this information so that they can better support their students. Again, just looking for opportunities to recognize we have significant behaviors now. What are we going to do now? But making sure that whatever we develop fits into our long-term system and is something that will continue to support students for years to come. And so again, just trying to find that just right match of honoring where we are now with planning for the future. And I just wanted to bring this to you and remind you that we will be talking, I'm sure, at length about our LCAP opportunities and what our priorities might be. And so possibly something to this nature, some elements of this proposal might be something that come up in our LCAP discussions, and might be something that make their way into what we plan for. Because, of course, as you know, we can do anything, but we can't do everything. So we'll really have to consider some of these recommendations when we get to that LCAP planning and the budget process. Any questions?
Tracy, hold on. No, it's just my finger here, just getting that going. There you go.
So I just want to start by saying, like, when you say anything is, you could tell me that we could do anything, and I believe you. It's
We
so
can.
fun to listen to you talk. You're so eloquent. So I am super, super excited and just want to say thank you to the committee. I was rejected, but I appreciate your hard work. This is really important to me, and I'm so excited.
No hard feelings. It's all
You
right.
want
Just to
your
let you know.
transparent. But no, I mean, I'm really, really, really excited, and I'm really thankful for the time and energy that's being put into this. And I want to throw out there that I'm hoping that you can add something to support, because it's you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And as adults that may or may not have dealt with their own trauma, once they become trauma-informed educators and they're paying attention, and just the stuff that they're dealing with, secondary trauma is a real thing. I mean, I can divert to Mr. Kitts. Is like, can we add support our teachers? Like some mechanism to do debriefs or some support mechanism, because this is hard work and it can feel yucky sometimes, and I just don't want to burn everybody out or not support them because they're collateral damage while they're trying to help our kids. So
And our mental health clinicians, we've had that exact conversation about the need that it would be nice if we brought in trauma-informed care trainers or presenters, and then our mental health clinicians could then be there to support teachers for that very, very aspect, that when we start opening up some of those conversations, it can bring things out for people. And I thought that was very insightful of our clinicians, and of course they thought of that, but for some of us educators, maybe we wouldn't have thought of that. And so yes, absolutely, I think recognizing that work can be tough, not just because it's tough to change your practices, but that also it's a lot of reflection, and it can bring up things that maybe aren't pleasant for
it's a new
people to
frontier.
have.
It's stuff
Yep.
we never had to do before. So
Absolutely.
I also just want to say that there's new money coming, or an expansion with the Wellness Center SCO project.
Okay.
So I think that it would be really innovative to have this maybe. Did I understand that there might be an off-site classroom that would then serve all of our schools, or would this be site by site that would have this room for behavior support?
I think it's still up in the air, but the thought was that it would be like one classroom at a comprehensive site that already exists. So, but that other sites could send
use it?
students to access it.
So I would just put it in the back of your head or call Nikki, because more money's coming. Tracy just announced that.
Oh, great. And
it could be really cool to be an innovative project to have a satellite elementary site. Even if we just did that one thing, since you were doing it anyway, let's let them pay for it. Or at least pay for the upfront cost, right? We'll still have, but just thank you. I'm really excited. So.
Mr. Silva.
During a couple, just going around the town, certain site visits, we've some of us have witnessed a lot of actually these interventions being put in place, and it seemed very smooth, very transitional. I know it has to be a huge sometimes challenge for the teachers and staff to accommodate it, but I'm not going to say where and what to protect confidentiality, but there were some particular incidences that I was extremely impressed with how we handled our children that are going through some stuff that only they may not even know themselves of how to encounter. So I'm really proud of the staff and teachers, and I know it's tough, with the kids that we have in the classes and everything that's going on, and it's a challenging job. I know a lot of us are parents. We have one or two or a couple kids, and they're difficult, and every day we're managing hundreds of them at a time. So I'm really proud of. I know that all comes down, and it really speaks to just how well our staff are here for the kids, and it's pretty cool to see and witness. So thank you.
Thank you.
See no other. Sasha, thank you very much for the presentation. We appreciate it. Yep. We're going to move on to 18C, Facilities Update. Chief Facilities Maintenance and Operations Office Dan Banowitz will provide an update on our current facilities projects. Good evening, Mr. Banowitz. How are you?
Good evening, Board, Superintendent Shmia. I'm ready for a quick update on facilities projects going on right now. We're going to start with Markham Elementary's improvement project. The big thing is that we're going to be moving into the first 13 new classrooms on February 1st. So we're a few weeks ahead of schedule there because they've been doing such a great job. We are making arrangements. The furniture is coming in the week of the 27th, so at the beginning of the week. We are making arrangements to allow the teachers in a couple days beforehand, so they have some time to set up the rooms before, since we're doing this over just a regular weekend, that they don't have to come in Monday and they don't have the room set up. So we're really excited about that. If you've driven by there lately, you'll see that the walls are going up and a lot of the framing is happening on the MP room. So it's starting to go up, and we're trying to get the lid on that thing so then we can continue to work even when it's raining. Right now, it's hit or miss, the weather that we have right now. Zunino Stadium, with the weather that we're having they're actually still doing a great job out there. And the contractor, O.C. Jones & Sons, has come up with a great idea of kind of resequencing some of the construction so we can get ahead of schedule. And that is putting in the curbing the cement curb that goes around the field. But then instead of continuing to wear the field, what they want to do is they want to do the first layer of asphalt that goes around where the track will sit on top of. Then they can, weather permit, what doesn't matter with the weather now, they can continue to work on that field when the AstroTurf starts showing up with that asphalt already there. And that's going to save us a lot of time. So we're evaluating that to make sure, they have to evaluate it to make sure it's not going to cost them any more money. And we have to evaluate it to make sure it makes sense for us. But right now, we're pretty excited about it. Sierra Vista Increment 3. We are moving we're going to do the first administrative move by moving the front office out of the front and move them into the back. If you remember some time ago, I explained we're going to do that this way. That's going to happen on February 8th. So we're going to be moving them around, and it's going to take about 6 weeks to finish the work up at the front of the office. Then we'll move them back in and be up and running and wrapping up that project. We still have a couple things we're finishing up on the library. If you see the outside of the building, the wrought, some from the panels that we're replacing that they're working on now. Buckingham, that project, we're doing a couple different things at one time right now. The big thing is the move this summer. So our facilities manager, Aaron McGuire, is working with Allie and that staff and working to get everybody ready, along with Amy and her staff and adult ed and Kimmy, working with all those different people to make sure everybody's ready. And we're just begging them, please throw stuff away. But that's we're also looking at all the design options for the site. We have our design professionals on board now, and they've come up with some great options. The fourth option that they came up with after we sat down and looked at the first three, we made some changes to it. Allie and her staff really like it, so it'll be coming to you shortly. And then tomorrow, we're going to be meeting to talk about the tenant improvements for the 188 and 194 Bella Vista Road, the current, so we can, this summer is going to be, there's going to be a lot of moving parts and a lot of things to do, so we're trying to get out there as soon as we can and get it planned out. And that's all I have.
Any questions? Jane and I and Mr. Silver were out at Sierra Vista the other day. The office area is looking really good. The library looks really good. So it's moving along, and their team's excited about the transition and making that get complete. So
we are too. My team is ready for that to be with all the unforeseen conditions that we have found there. We're ready to wrap that one up.
Wrap it up.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation. Yeah. All right, 19 action items. 19A, acceptance of the financial audit reports ending June 30th, 2019. Jesse, and I apologize if I butcher it, but Diol, is a CPA for James Marta and Company, will be presenting the 2018-2019 audit.
That was perfect. Thank you.
How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just going to go over the financial results, the audit results. As you know, the audit process is a process of accountability to the board members and the public. The biggest thing you guys want to take away from the audit report is on page 2, you'll see our audit opinion. We issued an unmodified opinion. That means the financial statements were fairly stated as of 6/30/19. The Cliff Note version of the audit report you'll see is in the management discussion analysis, pages 4 through 12. So that will give you a summary of what transpired during the year, the issues the district is facing and where it's going. So I recommend that you guys read that if you don't want to read the entire 80-page audit report. I did pull a few items out of the MD&A to kind of highlight for you. This is the statement of net positions, like the balance sheet, if you will. And so total assets, there was a net change of about $68.6 million. And basically, you guys had a bond issuance. And so that's primarily where the increase in cash came from. And then obviously you guys have been spending some of that, the proceeds over the last year. And so that's why your capital assets increased as well. So that's where you see the increase in assets. Current assets is made up of cash and receivables. And then you have the increase of those projects that are put into service. Focusing on the deferred outflows, resources, this is basically almost 100% in relation to the pension liability. So there's the pension liability, there's deferred inflows and outflows, resources. And so the huge increase here is due to the SB 90. There was influx of money that was put into the pension for the STRs. And so also every year the contribution amounts for PERS and STRs has been increasing. So you add those two items together, and that's where you see the increase of about $19 million in this last fiscal year. Now focusing on the liabilities, I mentioned earlier you had a bond issuance. That's primarily 99% of that increase there. So the liabilities went up by about $46 million. There was a bond issuance about $45 million. And then we also had increases in the pension liability as well. I mentioned the deferred inflows is related to the pension liability. So the actuaries, they have a few assumptions that they make, and the differences between one year and another, that will change the deferred inflows and outflows. And that's why you see a decrease actually in this last fiscal year. Overall, the total net position, it is at a $24.9 million positive. So that's good news. We had a $50 million increase. So the district did a great job. Their financial position increased. In regards to the statement of activities, so this is the income statement, if you will. Focusing on the total revenues, we did have additional grants, federal and state revenues. I did want to explain a little bit further, as you will not receive these huge increases in the coming years. And I'll get to that in the next slide here. But I just want to highlight that that huge increase was due to federal and state funding, and then you had some other grants and contributions. Your expenses did decrease, but primarily the expenses are related to instruction and related pupil services. And that's typically what you see at school districts, about 75 to 85%. And I'm going to get into the general fund revenues. 77% of it is from LCFF sources. So you remember how the previous slide I said that majority of your increase in revenues was from the federal and state resources. The LCFF is a state resource. Okay, so we are actually ahead of schedule, and you're not going to get the gap funding that you were used to seeing. So that's the reason why I wanted to point that out to you. Salaries and benefits out of the general fund make up over 85, 86%. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention as well, because we're not going to see those revenues, but the pension contributions are still going up. So you have to be very mindful with budgeting going forward. And so this is what I was alluding to. The gap funding, you're not going to see it anymore. However, there is some extra money that's going to be coming through to LEAs in California, but they're going to be specialized for special education and some of these other programs. So it depends on the needs of each district, but I just wanted to point that out to you guys. In regards to the pension, I did mention that there was SB 90 extra revenues that came in and that funded the pension. So instead of having the 18.13% contribution level, it was actually at 16.7. Now, so for STRS, that was good news. But for PERS, it still went up. It went up to 19.7% from 18%. So although we had some good news from the STRS part of the side of it, PERS, it's still, you're going to see an increase. And so it's going to be substantial. So just be mindful of that when you guys are doing the budgeting process. That's what I just wanted to point out. In looking at the financial trends analysis, that's just a 2-year look back and then seeing where you are and where you're going. And this budget was as of July of last year. So you guys have probably have updated it since then. But just wanted to kind of put into perspective what your fund balance has been doing for the general fund. And you can see that it's been increasing year over year. And the long-term liabilities at the bottom, you'll see that it was increasing due to a few things. You had the pension increases year over year. You did implement GASB 75 last year, and actually 2 years ago, and that has increased. And then you had the bond issuances. So if you add all those items together, that's the reason why we went from 300 million to 354 million. Having said all of that, you guys are still above what is the minimum required reserve for the general fund. So that's a great thing to know. The management is doing a great job with using the resources. Your ADA has been increasing and it is projected to increase. That's another good indicator. So although the LCF funding is not going to be as much as it is, but one of the factors that goes into it is the ADA. So that's good news going forward. So along with the independent auditor's report, which I mentioned earlier, we have 4 other communications. We are required to do a state compliance audit, an internal control report, and then the single audit, which is the federal audit. And then we also issue a governance letter to you that basically memorializes what the audit plan was, the scope, and if there was any new pronouncements or any issues noted during the time of audit. And I'm going to get into each one of those individually. In regards to the state compliance audit, we issued an unmodified opinion, so no findings. In regards to the report on internal control, so there was one finding. It was in regards to the associate student body, and that's pretty common at school districts. In regards to the rest of the district, we didn't have any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. In regards to the student body, we did find that there was a control that was missed on one of the items. It is minor, but it's still important. We're always looking at what's the worst thing that can happen, and then we communicate it to the district. So in communication, anytime there's any fundraising activity, there should be a fundraising approval form. And so that's what the recommendation was. There is no fiscal impact. There wasn't any wrongdoing. It's just a control that was just missed. And so the district is on top of it. They are providing training to the staff, and they're performing quarterly audits to ensure this doesn't happen in the future. So we're satisfied with that, and we'll be revisiting this during this coming year. In regards to the federal single audit, that's basically anytime a district has over $750,000 of federal money that's expended, they're required to have a single audit. We performed our procedures over the federal funds, and there was nothing to report, so we have an unmodified opinion there. So all expenditures that we tested were in accordance with the grant documents. In status of prior year comments, so there were no findings last year, so there's nothing for us to follow up on, so that's good news. In regards to the governance letter, so the audit process went as planned. There wasn't anything that was material that came to our attention, so that's why we didn't contact you. So no news is good news in this case. There were no new pronouncements, no change in accounting principles that was affecting this audit year. So there was nothing extra that was communicated, no disagreements with management. So that's about it. And so I mentioned that the financial position of the district has been improving. Just be mindful when you're budgeting for the future, as those LCF funding is not going to be as high as it has been. And your management team has been doing a great job with the resources they have. So I just wanted to thank Jennifer and Kelly and all the staff that put in a lot of hard work. I mean, this is a huge district. There's a lot of testing that we have to do, a lot of sites that we have to visit. So they did a great job, and just wanted to thank you guys. Any questions or anything?
Anybody? No questions.
All
Thank you
right.
very much, Jesse, for the report. We
You guys
appreciate
are
it.
very welcome. I do have one question before I leave. Do you want me to go over the bond financial audit?
Was there any findings?
No findings.
Then I'm good with it, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
speak with the rest.
So
Everybody
no
else is
significant
good.
deficiencies, no material weaknesses. So internal controls over the bond were just what you want. And as far as what we tested, everything was in compliance, and the financials were fairly stated. So there's my presentation on that.
Very good. Thank you
All right.
very much.
All right. Thank you, guys.
So there is a recommended action that we approve the audit reports for ending June 30th, 2019, as well as the Measure A General Obligation Bond audit report ending the same date. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
And a second? Motion and a second. Student Board Member Advisory vote. All in favor? Yes? Okay, got a nod and a yes. We're good to go. And then Board Member vote. All in favor? Yes. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right. 19B, 19C, and 19D are all requests for the Form J13A, which allows us to recoup money from emergency conditions when we have to shut down schools. So it is Orchard Elementary on B, Willis Jepson on C, and Buckingham on D. I would like to, if I could, entertain someone to make a motion to approve all three in one motion.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, and do I have a second? And a second from Mr. Silva. Student Board Advisory vote, all in favor? Yes, fantastic. And Board Member vote, all in favor? Yes. Any opposed? Perfect. Hearing none. 19E, approval of agreement with the City of Vacaville. Flip over here. And that is that the board approved the agreement with the city for mental health services for 2019-2020 school year in the amount not to exceed $86,000. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
And a second?
I'll second.
And before we vote, Sasha, did you have something you wanted to
Yeah,
add? or-
there were a couple of questions that came up
Very good.
around the contract, so I wanted, Sasha, you want to share a little
Yeah,
bit?
sure.
And then maybe you
So I
can
gave
ask more
some
questions.
additional information regarding the numbers of students served and then sort of what are we receiving for the contract. So the green chart for you is the numbers of students served last school year. And so an interesting thing to note, although the MOU, or the contract that is up for tonight is specifically for the elementary programs, these interns also serve our secondary sites at no additional cost. That will come as an MOU without a contract and contract piece. The additional information I wanted to provide was the number of interns. So you see there we have 15 interns serving 15 sites for a total of 31 total school days a week. So that would roughly equate to about 6 FTE of additional counseling services that they provide to our school sites. And then the supervision component is pretty extensive as well. So because the interns have different licenses that they're working towards, they need both MFTs and LCSWs to provide the supervision. And so we do have 3 supervisors currently working with these 15 interns. And I just wanted to note some of the supervision hours that they put in weekly. In order for them to earn, the interns to earn their hours, they do have to have this supervision, and it can be rather extensive, as you see. And so I just wanted to equate that time too, comes out to almost a 1.5 FTE for supervisor time, because in addition to their hours of supervision, they also perform evaluations, provide training, consult, and they do a wonderful job, I have to say, of coordinating and collaborating with our mental health clinician team. We found them to be extremely accessible and collaborative, and we're, I think, really coming to a great place with the services that they've been providing for years, along with the building of our mental health clinician team. And so I just wanted to provide a little bit more information for you on that relative to this contract. Are there additional questions?
Yes, we do. Hold on one second. Michael.
Hi, Sasha.
Hi.
Yeah, why do you think the contract is put together that way? In other words, only like there's 3 times as many students counseled in the secondary than in the elementary, but all the money is in the elementary contract. Why is that?
Yeah. So I hate questions that can't be answered. So I found the answer to that because it was bothering me too. And it goes back to historically, actually. And I know one of the first questions, and I apologize for the error on the wording of the contract. It indicates in the board agenda that it's the Mental Health Services Act, MHSA, which really it's our Mental Health Services Agreement. But one of the reasons it's confusing is because many years ago, it did get funded through the Mental Health Services Act, and that elementary portion was funded through those dollars. And so when those dollars were not part of the program, that was just elementary. And so the city the school district at that time started paying for just that portion, and they continued having it be 2 separate contracts. And so I talked with some folks from the city, and we talked about potentially looking at that in the coming year and making it a little bit clearer for all of us to understand exactly what we're signing up for, who's providing what. We have done some work in the last couple of years adding language to those MOUs. Prior to when they first started putting that in place, there was nothing in place at all. So it was actually an interesting history lesson for me to find some of the answers to these questions.
Right now, it's $86,000 for the elementary and nothing for the secondary?
Correct, but the interns that are doing the elementary are also doing the secondary, and the supervision is for both as well. So it's written that way in the contract, but the reality is that the providers, both the interns and the supervisors, are both in elementary and secondary, many of them.
Yeah, I think, I think we should change that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because it doesn't really reflect what we're actually doing.
I would agree. Mm-hmm.
Okay, also, I'm going to ask a rhetorical question.
Okay.
But I mean, how do we know that the interns are doing any good for the students? I mean, and that's my rhetorical question. I ask that because, for example, at the county and in most mental health agencies, there are treatment plans and outcome measures and ways to evaluate whether the service is good or not. And I think that's particularly important when you're talking about interns because they don't have much experience. And it's, in a way, it's compounded by the fact that there's a confidentiality agreement where they don't tell us what's going on with those students. So I have an issue with that. And I think we really need to look at that. And when we contract, when Solano County Mental Health contracts with an agency, we have a contract. And in that contract, very specifically, are outcome measures, whether it's assessments that we use or other things that, look at treatment plans and goals. So do the, and I'm not coming at you, I just think it's important. Do they do treatment plans?
So I don't I'm not sure on the specifics of that. I do know that they have goals, and they have in the past reported out on whether or not students have met their goals. I did talk with Gloria from the city of Vacaville, and we're going to plan a joint meeting between our clinicians and their team to talk about this very issue, because she is in agreement that it would be helpful to have some outcome measures and look at some possible opportunities. And so we're looking at some assessments, some pre and post assessment information. Our team, in collaboration with their team, to
Right,
see what
and I just have to say, as respectfully as I can, they're our students. So it's nice that they agree that there should be some outcome measures, but we're the ones that should demand outcome measures because they're our students. And we have to find a way, it's counseling and mental health is a serious thing. And we have to make sure that we have ways to control what we're doing and what they're doing.
I agree.
All right, thanks.
Is that all, Michael?
I think so.
Perfect. Tracy. Don't go
So,
anywhere, sorry.
the quickie, because is this an expandable contract? Because as you're going through the process that you went through with behavioral stuff, because they serve general education kids, just want to make sure that I didn't get that right. Okay. So if we find that it's much more affordable to say, hey, can we help expand your program? So to Michael's point, we serve more elementary school kids because we're finding them now and we need support for them. Is this an expandable contract if you find the need? Like, do you have that option mid-year or for next school year to say, you know what, if you had 1 or 2 more interns to serve our elementary school, we'll pay for another supervisor. Do you see where I'm going?
Yeah, and I think they would be open to that. I think it would depend on their ability to recruit and retain interns.
For sure.
But I think that they would be open to that.
And then even though it hasn't been done in the past, I really do agree with Michael that I hope that you come to an agreement where you can quantify outcomes, whether it's a reduction in classroom behavior, like to maybe have an MDT team where, like, you know what I mean, where the teacher is saying if these kids are getting referred, that you have somehow, the why. What happens in counseling is confidential, but then the outcome would be important to see if they've reduced, if there's whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Any more questions? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the $86,000, not to exceed $86,000. Student board member advisory vote. All in favor?
Mr. Jensen,
Sorry.
can I get the motion in the second? I missed that.
Oh, who made the motion?
Yeah,
I moved, but I actually want to know if I can change the language because it says not to exceed, and that's kind of why I asked the question if it was an expandable contract. So, can we approve it for $86,000 so that we leave ourselves the opportunity? Do we kind of screw ourselves by saying not to exceed and you have to start all over?
No, you just have to amend it.
Yeah, we can always do an amendment.
Devil's always in detail.
Yeah,
I've
we
been
can
very
always do an amendment.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, so Mrs. Stacy, you made the motion, and who was the second?
Shelley, I thought.
I thought it was you.
Was it you?
Michael? Mr. Silva? Okay.
Mr. Silva.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, with that, student board member advisory vote, all in favor? Fantastic. Board member vote, all in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. 19F, it's requested that the board approve change order number 3 with Landmark Modernization Contractors, doing business as Landmark Construction in the increased amount not to exceed $109,384.60 for the 343 Brown Street improvement projects. Do I have a motion? Motion. And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Student board member advisory vote, all in favor? Yes. Board member vote, all in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. 19G, recommended or requested that the board approve change order number 3 with American River Construction Incorporated in the increased amount not to exceed $43,690.91 for the Sierra Vista K-8 improvement projects increment number 3. Do I have a motion? Motion. And a second.
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Student, you have a question? Oh, perfect. Hold on there, I get you. Mr. Kitsis.
Yeah, thanks. As I was looking at these, I would really like it if we attached the original contract. So that, because otherwise we're just looking at a change order, we really have no idea what it's off of. So if we attach that too, that would be helpful for me.
Yeah, and one of the things we're gonna start using is we've created a form that has rationale and background. A lot of districts use this type of form for their board items. We don't. And that will help too.
That will help.
Because you
Yeah.
don't
Keep
get
it
the background and the
condensed.
history, but I think Dan is actually gonna start piloting that form.
Cool.
Did you know that, Dan?
Oh, yeah, he knows that.
Very good. Any other questions? Fantastic. A motion and second, student board advisory vote. All in favor? All right, board member vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. 19H. It's requested that the board approve the contract with Delta Wireless Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $54,928.95 for the 343 and 353 Brown Street Security Camera Project. Can I have a motion? And a second. There we go. Motion and a second. Student board advisory vote. All in favor? Perfect. Board member vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. And now we go to 18B. Let me go back to that one. And that is Educational Services Center Technology Discussion. We will discuss the technology capabilities in our boardroom and potential changes to our current system at the dais.
So I've had some individual contributions from board members regarding the new system and the things that they want. I'm going to go over a couple of them, but I wanted to see if the board's in agreement of all the requests. There have been some adjustments made. So I'm going to go over them real quickly and then possibly have this team who's done a little more investigation speak to them. We also have the vendor here if necessary. One of the first things that came up was the microphone, and that has been fixed. I think the first day it wasn't turned up enough and we all had to lean in. So I think that was adjusted. Another one is around the request to speak button, like a separate button for request to speak than turning on the mic, which is also connected to the issue around more control over your own mic. Right, Michael? Okay. There's also the issue around having internet access on the screen so we can access agenda online. Right now we post the PDF of the agenda, but we can't pull it up and look up the attachments. So some of us bring a second device to pull up agenda online. If we had the internet, we could have the agenda online and pull up the attachments.
But they did that now, because I did it today.
Yes, you did.
The attachments are on there?
Well, the internet is on there.
It is?
Yeah.
Magic.
I got lots of things to
didn't
say
know that.
when you're
You're
ready.
amazing. Maybe I should just stop now and let you talk.
All right, well.
Let's do that, and then, yes, that's okay.
Superintendent already she already brought me all the things that she's discussing here. And a lot of changes have been made since the last time we had a meeting. But it can't be conveyed to you guys without actually having a board meeting. So some of the things I need to actually tell you so that you can use them in a better way than you have been. I know you're doing a great job with the microphones. You really are. But there are some things that are different from the last time. In the past, it had to be that you or whoever the president was at the time would have to approve each speaker. But you can see already that we changed it so that Teresa and Jane can jump in at any time without going through the procedure of you approving it. And the president himself can also jump in at any time. But we keep the part where each of the delegates, they're called delegates inside the system, requests to speak in order so that you can address them and say their names before they start speaking. And it goes in a queue that brings each person up with a flashing green. They're the next person to speak, and then you can go through them in order rather than just the jump in thing. But when we did that, we also found that one of the things that was a board concern was that when you did roll call votes, there was no way to speak through the microphone and take the vote because there's only 4 channels that can be sent through the speakers at any time. Well, there's actually more than 4 channels, but not 9. There are not 9 channels. So in order to do this, there is a method. And I haven't told you how to do it yet, so we haven't actually implemented it. It's a simple matter of changing the way the system works with a couple of button pushes, less than 2 seconds, less than 5 seconds, that allow you to change the speaker system or the microphone system so that you can push the button and hold it to speak and then let go, push to talk. So when we do a roll call, we can do a push to talk system where you can say aye or nay, and then move on to the next person and on down through it, and then you just switch it back. So I'll show you guys how to do that. That should address some of the questions. We did add the internet. Michael's already been on the internet.
Which I have some problem about it, I have to tell you.
Well,
but,
I don't even know where the heck that
Did you
button
put the
is,
parent
so-
restrictions on there, though?
Yeah, there are some restrictions on there,
Thank you very
actually.
much.
That's a good thing. We also added the ability for the room, the AV room behind us, to send you guys messages, text messages. John's had one all night. He hasn't looked at it yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we can
Something
send
new.
messages that say things like, please move more close to your microphone, for example, which is exactly what John says. We turned it up so we could hear you a little better, but we can send things from the AV room to you guys so that the meeting can go on without us interrupting Teresa, for example. What else did we do? We put that in, and
Added pictures.
we added, yeah, well, that's true. We added
Yeah.
pictures of the board members to the request to speak. And I think that's about the gist of the changes. So now questions can be asked with that in mind.
So, it's on the front page. It says browser. It's on the first blank page.
There it is.
So, one problem is, so when you're on the agenda online, right, and you know the area, it says attachment.
Yeah.
When you click on that, it disappears very quickly and takes you to another page. So in other words, like if you're on your computer or something like that, you click on the attachment, and it just leaves the attachment there. Then you click on it, and it actually goes to the attachment. If you don't do it fast enough, it doesn't work. So you'll have to look at that.
Yeah, we're going to make more changes
Yeah.
to this. This is actually a very complicated system, and there are a lot of things we can add to it and take away from it. And some of the things some of the items were just a different way of looking at how to do things, because we always did things a way that in the past that we had to change.
Also, there's something that says, I forgot how I got to it, but it says offline attachments, but it doesn't have.
Right, we haven't even loaded any of those yet.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a screen with the agenda that can be seen from there, where I was just trying to make it work earlier today. It works great, but now there's an agenda on the side that says provide cookies and donuts to all the students, just as an example of how things work. That's where we would actually put something real in there when we find out the best way to address these. Because going to the internet maybe isn't the best way to do it. Going to the internet is a good way to get internet information. Maybe the agenda should be on that swipe screen.
As
That'd be a
long
better
as
way
you
to do
have
it.
the attachments available.
Yes,
as well.
I agree. Yeah.
In the paperless tab.
Well, in the best place possible. That probably is the best place, but let's make sure. Yeah. We're still going to add more things to this as we go along. It's new. There's a lot of stuff to find and address.
I still really want to talk about the voting. I think that's really useful. I know it costs some more money, and I'll
Right.
talk about that, but I mean, like the Solano County Board of Supervisors has it. It's just simple. How you're voting. Teresa won't have to say who did that, who did this, and I think that's a good idea.
What are you talking about? It's like a
There's an add-on to the
You
system.
just click, and then it shows up on the monitor. It shows where the votes where we voted.
Yes, there's an add-on to the system that will allow us to do that. And the vendors here, wanna come on up?
It would show up on this monitor?
TV here with John Albrecht, Matt Vieira, and Dave Bastida.
Yes.
Hello, I'm John
Hey.
Albrecht, Pacific Coast AV. I'll just cover the voting question for that. Yes, there's a voting module that can be added to the existing system. And it requires some product and some reconfiguration of the system, but it can be added in there.
Is it $1 million?
I'm sorry? No, not quite, luckily. But what I can do is, what I'd like to do is kind of present how that actually system would integrate with your current system, so you can see it before implementing it. I think that would be the best approach to it, because there's some particulars that the feature sets of that voting application that I don't know exactly will match your needs. So let's see if we can take that first approach first, and then take the next step from there.
Okay. Did you want to speak to your?
Oh, sorry, no.
Okay.
Yeah. More questions? More questions?
Any other questions or comments about the system that wasn't addressed that is a concern for you that we have a audience?
I just want to confirm again, so the system is limited to 4 microphone inputs. That's why we have the issue of we can't turn on and turn off. I know you could do the push to talk, but that's why you can't turn on and turn off your own microphone?
Well, that's that would be a choice. We could do it that way, but then we'd lose the ability to have a queue that the president could control. If it was just push on and push off, yes, we could do that. We could switch to that.
Well, why couldn't you have a queue? You know, in other words, when you request.
It doesn't work. It
can't
works
do that.
with there's like 4 modes, and one of the modes is where you apply to speak, and another one is just open microphones. And if you do open microphones, it removes the ability to have a queue of speakers to come up in order. We can actually, here's another thing, we can add a timer to the speakers too. So there are things we can add.
Can I control that timer? Don't answer. I tell you, Michael, sitting here, I really like the queue, and it just tells me who's next. I can go from there. A little cumbersome to hit the buttons and allow them to talk, but I like the ability to have that tracked. I know in the past we'd sit here and track names and stuff.
Yeah, no, that's really good. It's just, it'd be nice to have both of them, but you're saying you can't.
It's one or the other, or it's push to talk. And nobody wants to hold the button the whole time they're talking, I'm
Right.
sure.
I definitely appreciate the ability to have Teresa and Jane live at any time, because they do so much input and talking that it's important that I don't have to sit there.
I agree
That
completely.
was one of mine. It was
That was
like
one of the first things I
spending
wanted
more
to figure out.
time messing with those two than anything else. So I do appreciate that. Mr. Silva.
Like, is it the reason why I say it can't, is it a coding issue or is it a electrical wiring capacity?
It's one of the 4 modes built into the system. You can choose you can either choose an open system, like I said before, an open system, a system with push to talk, a system where you apply, and then there's a 4th mode that, voice activated, where when you speak into it, that mic becomes hot. Sounds good, but you lose the first word every time. Plus, nobody really wants it.
Thank you.
So those are the modes, sorry.
You have control.
Yeah, put yourself on.
Sorry. Mr. Johnson, I
Yes.
heard a rumor that you read a 500-page manual.
I didn't read the whole thing.
Okay. I want you to know that he really took a lot of this to heart and took a lot of leadership in this. And Jennifer told me today he actually read this
I didn't read the whole thing,
500-page
just the parts that were important to this.
Pretty impressive. And I want to thank the vendors for coming here tonight. We know you had to sit through the board meeting, really appreciate it. But thanks, Ken, you actually really knocked out a lot of the list here already. Great job.
And I'd like the opportunity to try that voting thing, maybe not now, but maybe before the next board meeting, to actually see how that works, so we have the concept down. That would be good.
How would we try it? How does that work?
So
we just come in here and talk, I guess, and try it, right?
And I think also part of it's just gonna be like you're demonstrating tonight, is how just the more and more you use it, the more and more you'll get accustomed to it too. It's always harder when you're first implementing new technology of just remembering what to do. But just watching you tonight, it's a smooth.
It's
really
a lot
been
better.
smooth as far as people coming in and out with the mics being in the audience.
If I could request, if we could get a couple of those little
Styluses?
styluses.
Sure, you get styluses for all
Yeah,
of you.
to be able to touch,
That's
that
good,
would
yeah.
make life a little bit easier for me. Fat thumbs doesn't
Absolutely.
work very well, but that would be great.
And if I could just say, I loved using the having agenda online right there and having the agenda and actually using the attachments when it worked.
Mhm.
It was really, because it's just like doing it on my computer. It was
Yes.
here, but in HD, so it was really good.
Okay.
Can I go now?
Yep, all yours.
Wait, don't go. So Mike, so don't we have a facilities workshop in the near future?
February 29th.
Oh, so that'd be 2, but we have another one at the end of the month, right?
That's February 29th.
Okay, I just thought maybe they could come and, but I guess we should do it sooner than that. Never mind.
Fantastic.
You're doing most of it already anyway. It's just a few things.
All right, everybody good? Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, and with that, we're at 28 consent items. So these are routine items on the consent calendar, which are enacted by the board in one motion. Discussion only occurs if members of the board, administration, or public request specific items to be discussed and/or removed from the consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve?
I have 2 items I want to
Oh, I'm
remove
sorry.
for quick discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
20D and 20G.
20D and 20G, okay?
starting with 20D, I just have some information that Mr. Santapadre is going to share. I had some great questions from Mr. Silva, and Oh, do they have to approve the rest first?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'll slow down.
So you should
So
approve
can
the
I-
remainder, except for the two she pulled at this point, and
Which were
then
20D and
20D and 20G.
20G.
So all of the items except for those two?
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar minus 20D and 20G? And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. 1 second here, sorry. Student member advisory vote, all in favor? Yes, okay. Board member vote, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes minus the 2. And, okay.
Yes, so I had some questions from Mr. Silva regarding the data and the work of the College Advising Corps that we have this contract with. And Ed has some, and they referenced in the contract and evaluation report, so Ed has some great information to share around this.
Good evening. So you have in front of you just examples of the types of reports that they give us. Destination College has been in our schools for about 8 years now, and we have a counselor at Vacaville and a counselor at Wilsey Wood. And their entire job is to help kids learn about the process of going to college. So we spend a lot of time teaching the students skills to get to college, but many students, are first generation college goers, and just the process of applying, of financial aid, of scholarships, all of that is really daunting to some students. So we have these counselors who are on our campuses, and their full-time job is to provide information, to give trainings to parents, to meet with groups of students. And one of the neat things about it is that the counselors change every 2 years. Because they want people who have just finished college coming back and telling students what it's really like and what's just happened. So they don't want somebody who's been out 10 years. So every 2 years, the schools get a different counselor. And then they, in addition to helping any student who walks through the door, they have a cohort of students that they work with. And that's defined by UC Regents as underrepresented students, low-income students, and first-generation college goers. So this has really been a huge benefit. We have some great examples of students who have earned amazing QuestBridge scholarships, which pay 4 years of every bit of college, including transportation. And these counselors help these students navigate these processes. They also put on the events at the end of the year, the celebrations of our students who've chosen to go to a 4-year college, students who've chosen to go to a 2-year college, and even now our CTE completers are getting celebrations that these people lead. They are really valuable resources to our schools.
Hold on 1 second. All right, Mr. Silva.
Sorry. So thanks for sharing out all that and sticking around to answer that. Yeah, I was looking at the report that was shared earlier online, and like some of the numbers didn't, like they kind of just they seem off as far as like it might be because I just don't understand the definitions and how they lined up, or I could just be missing something. So there's 2 things that just kind of that made me actually start asking a question. The first question is, what are we paying you? Are we paying the UC system to provide this service?
Yes, that's this contract.
So UC is getting a portion, because I know it goes through UC. Go ahead.
UC Berkeley, and
Right.
it's groups that they have within. So they have Destination College, which is the group we're working with, and then there's the Solano County Educational Consortium and College Advising Corps, and these are 3 organizations under the UC Regents through Berkeley that does this, and we work mainly with the Destination College one, and so we pay the contracts for these 2.
It's a share 50-50 thing, I believe.
Yes.
So I guess the question is, I don't know if we know, and it's okay if you don't know now, how much of that percentage is actually going to UC Berkeley? And I asked that because I just something odd to me seems that we're paying, or that if that's true, there are certain percentages actually going to the UC Berkeley versus maybe this is something that we can handle in-house. I don't know, maybe over, I'm not trying to advise anybody to, vote against this particular case, but maybe that's something we can look into in the future.
Sure.
Another thing that I noticed, like within the contract, when it says that we focus on, I'll use the DCIC, so this quote-unquote disadvantaged students. So I'm just looking at the numbers, and this is on the end of year report. So 41 low-income or 41 disadvantaged students successfully applied to college. This is on the last page. And I could be misconnecting the total number. I'm not sure if that's out of the 162 that's presented above, but that would be like a 25% success rate on disadvantaged students that are successfully able that are successfully able to apply to college.
I can answer that.
Yeah.
The 162, the cohort is not just seniors. So the cohort has some juniors and sophomores and freshmen in it.
Great.
So that's the cohort. So probably a quarter of those are seniors who will be applying.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay.
One question, you talked about they help celebrate the CTE at the end of the year.
Yes.
Do they also assist in those kids trying to get into the trade schools and the automotive academies and other institutions such as that?
They do, and that's been fairly new. They really are full service. Anything that students want to do after high school, they're willing to help them research. And again, they're fresh out of college, so they're pretty good at this, and they help them research the different options and the different ways to pay for it. So yes.
Great. All right. Thank you. Any more?
Thank you, Ed.
Okay.
Good job.
Jane, one more you pulled?
Yes, the other.
20.
And you
Does he
should-
have to vote on
Yeah,
this
we do a
first?
vote now on that particular item.
Okay, great. So do I have a motion to approve 20D? Motion and second. Student Advisory Committee vote. All in favor? Yep, perfect. Board member vote. All in favor? Yes. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right.
This one's real quick, 20G. This also was another question, and thank you, Mr. Silva, actually, for pointing this one out. This is a contract for the demolition of the old district office, and the first sentence there on the agenda says this is a Measure A item. We had a fire there, and we did receive insurance money, and the question was why we're not using that to pay for this say the word. It's getting
Demolition.
tired. Thank you, demo. We are going to use those funds. You're still approving the contract for us tonight, but it's just a matter of us charging it to a different budget. We have those set aside in a different fund, so we are going to use those for that demolition, not Measure A. Does that make
So
sense?
should we amend that then to just include the approval of 20G and just include that it is not a Measure A item?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a motion for that?
Motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. Student advisory vote, all in favor? Perfect. Board vote, all in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, for staying, by the way.
Yeah.
He's a trooper. A lot.
And we just lost Rand at the last second, but you held out the longest, so thank you very much.
And it's a late board meeting, so, and it's, oh,
And you're the first person ever to do that. Cool.
he is.
Yeah,
Thank
you did a great job.
I love
Perfect.
that you did
And
that.
you feel free to do that. And just future business, regular governing board meeting, January 30th and also February 13th. No need to go back to closed session. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.
Great job. Thank you.